Thanks, Devon. Thanks, Janet. It's nice to see everybody online this morning, and I just add my welcome to those of both Janet and Devon. Yes, I'm going to go through the calculator, and it's really what we thought we'd do is, which Devon's done very well, is contextualize where we work with help people as individuals to understand some of the behavioral changes which we're trying to achieve through the welfare system. And just to say, we use this calculator, and we'll look at this after this. There's a few slides where we've got some quotations from both local authority users, housing association users, and welfare to work providers. So depending on where you're from, you'll want to think about using it in a different way. I'm going to show two calculators this morning. The first one is the Better Off in Work calculator, which I've got here in front of me. And that fundamentally is a calculator that says, answers the question, I've been offered a job. Will I be better off if I take the job, or will I lose so much in benefits that actually it's not worth my while taking that work? And of course, what we want to do, and what the ethos of the welfare system is to help people make those decisions and get people back into work. So what we want to do is show people that. But the other aspect of it is a lot of people are facing financial hardship. They're having difficulty paying their rents. So we want to help them with their budgeting to say, actually, with the income you've got, are you spending it in the right ways? Can we help you and provide that kind of level of financial support and advice? So the first one is looking at the Better Off in Work calculator. Now, because you don't want to see me typing, certainly most of you wouldn't want to see me typing very quickly these days, I've got a case that is saved and opened here. I'm calling it Peter. You know, Peter 1-2 is just to differentiate the different calculations I've created under the name Peter. Peter is part of a couple. He was born in 1970, his partner was born, whose female was born in 1973, and they have 4 children. The first part of this calculator is just where we start gathering the information, the basic information we need to know, so we can see what kind of levels of benefits this family should be receiving. We can base this on the fact that these people are living in Salford, this is where I've recently done it. They're in social rent, they've got a 4-bedroom property, and they're paying about £150 a week. For those of you from London, you're going to go, they're paying what? Well, here in the north, where I'm based, about £150 a week is about right for that. And we can see what their council tax liability is. We gather the information on the age of the children. Now, we can clearly gather some more information about whether there's carers or adult with disability. And we can open up these, what we call accordions or tabs, where we can add information. I'm going to leave most of these, just for the sake of showing you the software, as blank this morning. If anybody wants me to do other calculations and wants me to do an online specific kind of calculations to look at different circumstances, please let us know, because I'd be very happy to do that and go through these situations. But other things that will affect people's income and their benefits will be, are there any non-dependents in their house? Is anybody above pensionable age? Is anybody a carer in the property? And all that kind of stuff. And we might want to look at income from and sources of income and money from other places. We can quickly create these, and we can have got a whole range of different areas where people can have their income. But again, I'm going to leave that blank. What I want to do is straight away and very instantly get to what my out-of-work entitlements might be based on my circumstances that I put in at the front end here. So I just click See Out-of-Work Entitlements, and always when you do this, you prepared it earlier and everything hangs for a little minute. But here we've got, I'm showing straight away here, we've got a number of little warnings. There might be benefit cap for this family. We might be eligible for universal credit, transitional protection. We're not eligible for universal credit based on my family where I am, but I might get transitional support there. So I've got a number of warnings which come up for the advisor to tell me various bits of information. And we've got other tabs based on information around LHA caps and so on that all come into it. The first box I like to highlight is the differences between the current benefit system and universal credit. These are some of the changes that we know are impacting the power of universal credit, which is the work allowance. But we can see what income people would get, and we can drill down into this. So we can start looking at things like housing benefit is £432.92p. And if I just click on this, it drills into it. It says, actually, the maximum housing benefit is £651, but I'm in under occupancy, or you might want to refer to that as the bedroom tax. Size criteria is losing them 14%, therefore they should be on they lose £91 there. And there's a further benefit cap reduction of £127.62 based on the current benefit cap that's in place at the moment. So we can start seeing this information. What we like is being able to compare that very clearly and very quickly to universal credit. And I could just show one system or the other depending upon which system this particular household are into. But as I said, the point of this calculator is about outcomes. What we don't want to just do is think about what people are getting and are they getting the right information. This is about frontline advisors being able to give the right support to the right time to the right people. And of course, some of the way in which those people are coming to us is because of the analysis that Devon was talking about. But I've created a potential job here for Peter. He's been a carpenter in the past, and he's seen a job advertised at £8.25 an hour for 25 hours a week. His partner has seen a potential job where, like my wife, works in a preschool playgroup, £7.20 an hour, the basic rate for two morning sessions a week, and she's wondering, is it worth my while going into work? We want to make it realistic so we can stop paying expenses of going to work. Actually, during school holidays, there may be a requirement of, and it's all in the news today, about the cost of childcare in the school holidays. But she thinks it's only going to be 6 hours a week during school holidays at £3.94. And the total cost for both of them travelling to work is about £10 a week. And I can change that if I wanted to different amounts over different periods of time. If there are tax credits from previous years, I can put that in here. And now I want to see my out-of-work entitlement. Would I be better off in work or not? So very quickly I'm able to see, actually, this particular household would be better off in work under the current system by £606.14 per month. Very quickly, a very powerful demonstration of why this family should consider going into work. And if they are considering going into work, but they haven't seen any particular jobs advertised, then I can just go down the page and I can link this to Universal Jobs Match. So I can say, Peter, are you interested in a job as a carpenter? It picks up my postcode automatically. If I've got any skills, I can put that in there and link straight away through to Universal Jobs Match. And it opens up the jobs that are available for me in the Salford area or within a certain range, which I can change in Universal Jobs Match in terms of what's available. So these are the dates completely live, available on the 18th of the 7th, carpenter there at £17.50 per hour. Even better. Fantastic. Peter, are you interested in applying for that job? How can we help you do that? And of course, one of the things we might want to do is see a more detailed breakdown of those numbers. How did you get to those numbers? Well, we can see that on net earnings. We can see how that is broken down. So we can see where money is being lost through national insurance, childcare, travelling to work, and so on, with the net total coming into, coming all together in terms of what his total income will be. All very powerful and very useful information. But even more powerful is we know for a lot of these households, and certainly when they've got 4 children, is the benefit cap is changing in the autumn. We know it's going to be staggered and it's going to be coming in based on current information, based on the fact that we've just had a change of welfare ministers and prime ministers. But if that does happen, then the current income, as we've seen on the current benefit system, is £2,277. We know it's going to go up to another £600 odd based on going into work. But when the benefit cap comes in, Peter, you are going to lose a lot more money. You could be £1,000 a month better off if we start trying to get you into work now, where there are low barriers to work, than we would otherwise. And again, we can break that down. We can do exactly the same thing under universal credit. We can start seeing things like a take-home income chart, so we can see the effects of actually taking on more hours and how the welfare system is impacting on Peter and his partner and his children. So just this is obviously live. My system is not responding. I've got a great internet connection here. I don't know why they let me do these webinars, frankly, and I think that Devon's probably asking the same question as we speak. But as we do this, we can see the information comes up. It's always nice to do it live. And we can see how the current benefit system works. Every pound I earn up to when working tax credits comes in, I'm going to lose a pound in benefits. And that's where universal credit is very different. I'm not losing any benefits for a number of hours until we start moving forward. And so we can start explaining to people why the different systems are different. I'm going to move on. If you've got any questions about the Better Off in Work calculator, please let me know. I've actually already got open the budgeting calculator. So here we've got the universal benefit calculator. This is the budgeting calculator, and I can bring up my history, and I can load the report. So the point of me showing that bit is to say, actually, we can save cases and we can use them and reuse them. One of the things that Devon's going to talk about later, to steal his thunder, is about one of our clients who said, you know, when people come to see us, we're using free calculators at the moment, but every time people come in, we have to enter that information, that data again. Well, from my background in process modeling, I will say it's unlikely you're going to enter the same information the same way twice, and therefore you might not be comparing apples with apples, but also think about the amount of time you can save if you're entering that information once and able to reuse that information. So in terms of being efficient and helping your business processes, this is absolutely bob on at doing that. First thing I can do is say, why are you here? Well, I'm here for some debt advice. And this is Peter's case. They are a couple. All that same information is in here, and I'm not going to re-enter it. So we know exactly what that situation is. We can start looking at whether there's carers, disabilities, other circumstances, all the information. But what we can also do is pick up earnings from other areas. So we picked up the 25 hours from before, and I'm going to say that's going to be 0 hours for there. Just the point is I want to show you the budgeting calculator based on the fact that they are still out of work. We can do any expenses would be taken into consideration there, and I'll just make sure these are at 0, so we can say actually we're not going to take these into cost of going to work. We're not going to do that. The next thing I want to do, because it's budgeting, is start looking at the family's expenditure. So I can see straight away what their income is and their total income is. But I now want to start thinking about going into what we call step 3, which is actually what are your costs of living? And we do the costs of living in 5 different areas. So we can look at things like bills, travel, housekeeping, other costs, debts, and so on. The power of having this available to you so you can save it and reuse it again is I think it's unlikely that the first time somebody visits, they'll know exactly what they spend. Or at least if I was sitting down with my wife talking about what I spend, it's unlikely I'm going to be completely honest. That's just me. She has no idea how much a pint of Guinness is, but that's just me. Okay, so rent, we know what the rent is, we know what all this kind of stuff is. This is about the bills, and we gather information on water rates, gas, how much you're paying for your electricity, TV licenses, and then when I go around the country doing this demonstration, there's always a bone of contention of, is satellite TV a human right? Should people have it or not? Home phones, internets, mobile phones, and so on. And things like insurance or buildings insurance can all go in here. And we can always add other fields if we need to at any time. Travel. I can start putting things like public transport in. There's a family of 6 here. They're going to use public transport. Although I have given Peter a car, he pays about £25 a week for petrol. His car insurance is about £450 a year. He's got road tax. It's an old car. He doesn't get the cheap stuff. He has an MOT. And of course, once a quarter, they haven't always lived in the Salford area, which is where I put this family. Their family have come from, say, let's say, Bristol. Once a quarter, they go and visit the in-laws or the parents and the grandparents and start and that obviously has impacts on their expenditure and costs. We can look at things like housekeeping. And it's always, you know, how much do you spend on the weekly shop? Well, clearly, I've got no idea, but I've got £130 a week here. School expenses, health and beauty, clothing. The family needs clothing. And other costs, things like going out, savings, pocket money for the kids, sports clubs, birthdays, the annual celebration, Christmas or Eid, whatever you want to call it. Both Peter and his partner are smokers, but it's less than a packet a day, so I've just put down £6 a day for smoking. He likes a bottle of whiskey a week in the house, and his wife, his partner, goes and meets her friends every week, and they go to Cafe Nero and have a cup of coffee or whatever they do. So that's £3.50 a week for that. They do have some debts which they're servicing. This might be rent arrears, it might be council tax arrears, but I just said they've actually borrowed £1,000 from family, which they're repaying at the strange figure there, £38 a week. I can make that more realistic, let's say £50 a month. Change that again if I wanted to. And also they've got a credit card debt, which I've got here. Credit card debt somewhere I've got there. Credit card debts, there we go, £750 on credit card. They're paying that back at the minimum payment of £40 a month, which they're doing at the moment. Again, we might create an action plan for future use. We need to get more information on our debts, which we can just say we're going to do that by the end of the month. Let's put that in there. And then let's go to step 4. Now, hopefully, let's all play this game where you are in your offices. Is this household in financial surplus or financial shortfall? Are they better off? Are they okay? Or are they struggling? I could have a little poll here, but I'm not going to do that. But I'm just wondering what you're thinking, because a lot of you are experts in this field. They're actually in cash shortfall by £186.07 per month. That's how much they're overspending. Now, if you're a housing association, guess what? It's unlikely they're going to pay their rent next week. If you're a local authority, guess what? You might be a little bit worried about them going into council tax arrears. If you're anybody else, you're going to be saying, actually, this family could run into and end up being homeless unless we can start putting preemptive support in to help them overcome their situation. What kind of preemptive support could we think about doing? Well, do you think they could take up more work or move into work? Do you think maybe they could save money on bills, save money on other items? Or do you think they could move property? They are in under occupancy at the moment. Now, these can be checked on or off. If this is a disabled couple, severely disabled, it's unlikely that you're going to talk about moving into work or taking up more work. So we could just uncheck that box. But for the purposes of today and showing you what the software does, I'm going to leave them all checked so we can see what happens. So all of a sudden we can start saying, what about your earnings? Well, Peter, do you think, and here I've just got some saved numbers from earlier on, £7.75 an hour for 24 hours a week. Some earnings for his partner, £7.20, basic rate for 10 hours a week. Expenses, I can have some expenses in here, and are we going to take these into consideration? Yes, we are. So straight away I can start seeing, actually, would you be better off if you took those kind of work? And I can see a slightly different graph. This is where you were. This is where you could be. You would be £53 a month, better off. And again, we link that to Universal Jobs Match, so we can do that. The second section, do you think you could save money on bills? Well, isn't it interesting to say, I don't know whether we could save money on bills because it's very difficult to do that kind of analysis. But we're linking to a range of sources, which I can go into later if you want me to, the DECC, Money Advice Trust, and a lot of other statistical data, to say actually they could save £317, nearly £318 a month on bills. If they did nothing else, that would mean they'd have £131 left over. Now, if you're a housing association, you're trying to support people and make sure they pay their rent, and you don't want them to run into rent arrears, that's obviously got to be good news. I deliberately put their electricity bill fairly high when I set these numbers up. And I can click on here and say, actually, you're currently spending £85 a month on electricity. The average for your house, number of people in the house, size of property, is £53. You could save £31.58 a month on your electricity. It's something we can have a discussion about. It may be that Auntie Joan is coming in every day for dialysis. That's why the electricity bill's too high. It may be that they're actually leaving the heating on, or it may be that in the spare bedroom they've got a cannabis farm. Who knows? I don't know what they're using with all this electricity, but we can start helping them and supporting this family. I deliberately had the travel bill as fairly high, so we can start looking at ways in which, you know, are they using their car right? Do they really need the car? And other issues like that. Housekeeping and other costs, again, are very high, so we can start looking at these areas. Do you think you could save money on other items? Well, when we start breaking this down, you know, we're saying actually your shortfall is not just the 130 odd pounds per month, but actually per day is £6 a day, which is £2,232 per year. And if you look at things like your cigarettes, which was just £6 a day, that's £2,190 a year. Do you think it's maybe time to start thinking about saving and starting cutting out smoking? It's a conversation you can have. My other conversation is to start saying this is the split of how you're spending your money. Cigarettes, alcohol, coffee, going out, sports clubs. More than 3/4 of the spend is on the couple, less than 1/4 on the children. Maybe we should start helping this family restructure their spending so they can support the family in better way. But of course, when nearly half the spend is on cigarettes, and more than half the spend is on cigarettes and alcohol, maybe that's an area of support we could start talking to them about. And again, we can start creating action plans for when they come back to visit us and start making referrals and triage this family to the right kind of areas. Finally, do you think you could move a house? Some people may not have other properties available. You may not want to have the discussion. But actually, we can start saying, if you did move properties, you could save money on rent and on bills by doing so. And so we can start having that kind of conversation with people. And then we can start creating action plans. Now, for all this work we do, we can print the information out and start presenting it to Peter so he can go home and talk with his family. They can start thinking about what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. I'm not going to get into that today. It's just because obviously time is prescient on us and there's a few things and questions we want to cover.